Charles Lieber, an esteemed pioneer in the field of nanoscience and the former chair of Harvard University's chemistry department, achieved a reputation for his groundbreaking work on nanoscale electronics and nanowires. However, his illustrious career took a severe hit when he was arrested in 2020 under charges of concealing his funding from China and committing tax-related violations. Born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania in 1959 to an awarded engineer, Robert I. Lieber, Charles Lieber was inclined towards engineering and scientific pursuits from an early age. His childhood was spent constructing and dissecting stereos, cars, and model airplanes. This propensity for exploration and understanding led him to Franklin and Marshall College, where he graduated with honors in chemistry in 1981. Further refining his academic prowess, Lieber went on to earn his doctorate from Stanford University, conducting research on surface chemistry under the mentorship of Nathan Lewis. After Stanford, he joined the California Institute of Technology, Caltech, where he completed a 2-year postdoctoral fellowship in the lab of Harry Gray, focusing on long-distance electron transfer in metalloproteins. In the early stages of his career at Columbia and Harvard, Charles Lieber studied the effects of dimensionality and anisotropy on the properties of quasi-2D planar structures and quasi-1D structures. This exploration piqued his interest in the fabrication of one-dimensional wires and led him to the realization that the development of nanoscale materials-based technology would necessitate incredibly small, wire-like structures to transport information, shuttle electrons, and connect devices. An early advocate for leveraging the fundamental physical benefits of miniaturization, Lieber foresaw the potential to merge the realms of optics and electronics, creating interfaces between nanoscale materials and biological structures. He ambitiously aimed to generate entirely new, unpredictable technologies through this interdisciplinary approach. Charles Lieber is a key figure in the world of tiny tech, or nanoscience. He figured out how to make very tiny wires, called nanowires, in a predictable and controlled way. These nanowires are similar to the wires we use in everyday electronics, but incredibly smaller. He also developed special microscopes that let us measure the electrical and mechanical properties of these tiny wires. His work has led to many advancements in electronics and light-based technologies on a nanoscale. One of his significant contributions has been creating small electronic devices and lasers from these nanowires, which are now being considered by tech giants like Intel. He also invented new ways to arrange these nanowires neatly, making them easier to use in various applications. These applications include creating new kinds of tiny electronic devices and even logic tiles, which are like the building blocks of computers. Another exciting area of Lieber's work is using these tiny tech for medical purposes. He found ways to electrically detect proteins and viruses, which could open new doors for diagnosing diseases. He's also made tiny 3D transistors, which could revolutionize how we build electronic devices. Perhaps most impressively, he's been working on ways to integrate electronics directly into the human brain. This could revolutionize how we treat brain diseases and injuries. Charles Lieber, a trailblazer in nanoscience, and his team have received over $15 million in funding from U.S. agencies like the National Institutes of Health and Department of Defense. His prolific career includes publishing more than 400 research papers and being the lead inventor on over 50 patents. His significant impact on nanotechnology has been recognized through numerous prestigious awards like the Wolf Prize in Chemistry in 2012 and the M.R.S. von Hippel Award in 2016. As a mentor, Lieber has guided many students who went on to become well-known scholars in their own right, such as Hongja Dai, Stanford professor, Philip Kim, Harvard professor, Piedong Yang, UC Berkeley professor, Lata Venkatraman, Columbia professor, and Yi Kui, Stanford professor. Given his remarkable contributions to the field, many view Lieber as a potential candidate for the Nobel Prize in Chemistry. Charles Lieber, in his pursuit of a Nobel Prize, partnered with Wuhan University of Technology in China in 2011 as a strategic scientist, joining a Chinese recruitment initiative called the Thousand Talents Program. Charles Lieber's pursuit of the Nobel Prize led him to involvement with the Thousand Talents Plan, TTP, a program initiated by the Chinese Communist Party, CCP. The TTP aims to attract foreign science and technology experts, particularly from overseas Chinese communities, to contribute to China's development. Although the program successfully brings international talent to China, its ability to retain these individuals for extended periods is questionable. Many elite scientists prefer to maintain their tenured positions at top Western universities, choosing only to spend short stints in China. Moreover, the TTP has raised concerns among law enforcement and counterintelligence agencies in countries including the United States. The FBI suggests that foreign recruitment programs like the TTP may incite illegal activities, including stealing trade secrets, breaking export control laws, or violating conflict of interest policies. In response to ongoing investigations into the Thousand Talents program, a former researcher at the Cleveland Clinic was arrested in May 2020 for hiding his association with the program, although his case was later dismissed. Additionally, in June 2020, the National Institutes of Health launched an investigation into the activities of 189 scientists linked to the program. In November 2020, Song Guozheng, an Ohio State University employee and program participant, confessed to lying to the FBI about his ties with the Chinese government. Notably, Charles Lieber, a prominent Harvard University professor, was also implicated in these issues. Charles Lieber, a Harvard professor, was arrested in his office by the FBI in connection with the China Initiative, a program aimed at curbing Chinese espionage and theft of U.S. intellectual property. Lieber was under investigation for not reporting his significant foreign financial conflicts of interest, as required by the grants he oversaw. He failed to disclose his role as a strategic scientist at Wuhan University of Technology in China, and his participation in China's Thousand Talents recruitment scheme from 2012 to 2017. Initially charged with making a materially false statement, Lieber had claimed ignorance about his status in China. As per his contract with the Thousand Talents scheme, he was paid up to $50,000 monthly, received living expenses up to $150,000, and over $1.5 million to set up a research lab at the Wuhan University. In return, he agreed to work for the Chinese university for at least 9 months each year, mentoring young teachers and PhD students, organizing international conferences, applying for patents, and publishing articles. When asked by the National Institutes of Health, NIH, about Lieber's suspected ties with the Chinese institution, Harvard provided false information based on Lieber's own inaccurate statements. Lieber was released 2 days after his arrest on a $1 million bond. "I wasn't completely transparent by any stretch of the imagination," he said during a 2018 interview about his involvement with the TTP. "It looks like I was very dishonest." Lieber sent an email to a research colleague about his concerns with the federal inquiries into his ties to China, wherein he wrote, "I will be careful with what I discuss with Harvard University, and none of this will be discussed with government investigators at this time." Asked by FBI agents in 2020 whether he was ever a member of the TTP, Lieber said, "I may have signed a document that was in Chinese that I shouldn't have signed." Lieber initially told FBI agents in the interview shown in court Friday that he had not taken payments from a Chinese university, but he reversed course after being confronted with evidence. I think they claimed they were gonna pay me, but I didn't get it, he said at first. When Lieber was presented with a contract he signed with the TTP in which he was to be paid $50,000 per month and $158,000 in expenses for his work with the Wuhan University of Technology, he said to FBI, "That's pretty damning." Lieber said multiple times in the recording that he was unsure of the exact amount of money he brought to the United States from his trips to China, attributing errors in recollection to his selective memory. Lieber is accused of falsely reporting his taxes by failing to include income from the Wuhan University of Technology. Prosecutors said he also did not inform the Internal Revenue Service of his Chinese bank account, which at one point contained the equivalent of roughly $200,000. When presented with this evidence in the 2020 interrogation, he told FBI investigators he did not declare or pay taxes on the money he received in $100 bills during trips to Wuhan. "If I brought it back, I didn't declare it, and that's illegal," Lieber told the FBI. Lieber told the agents that he and his wife decided they did not want the money from his Chinese bank account. "We realized that this was not an appropriate thing," Lieber told the FBI. "To me, I'd rather not investigate how to get this money." In December 2021, Charles Lieber, after a 6-day trial, was found guilty on charges of lying to federal authorities, submitting a false income tax return, and neglecting to report foreign bank accounts to the IRS. This conviction followed his failure to report income earned from Wuhan University of Technology to the IRS. A recording in which Lieber essentially admitted to misleading FBI agents and not declaring payments received during China visits bolstered the government's case against him. His defense argued uncertainty about his status in China and lack of evidence of intentionally hiding his income. Despite a potential maximum sentence of 26 years in prison and $1.2 million in fines, Lieber, suffering from lymphoma, was sentenced to time served, 2 years of supervised release with 6 months under house arrest, and was fined $50,000, along with $33,600 in restitution to the IRS. This sentencing followed numerous delays and happened after Lieber had officially retired in February. Harvard announced in March that quantum physicist Mikhail Lukin would succeed him. The story of Charles Lieber is a striking example of how a decorated academic career can be overshadowed by ethical and legal controversies. His fall from grace served as a stark reminder to the academic community about the importance of transparency and adherence to institutional and federal regulations. It underscores the necessity of maintaining the highest levels of integrity, not just in research, but also in all professional relationships and engagements. Thank you for watching this video. If you found this enjoyable, kindly consider liking and subscribing.